Hello friends, and welcome to this week's reading vlog. I am so stinking excited. It is currently January 10th and I have finished 2 books so far this year, and I actually finished them yesterday, day before yesterday. So I'm gonna go ahead and quickly do a recap of them, one of which won't need much recapping given that it is a reread. That's a very popular book that I think we all know and love. The second book being a book 1 in a series, and I'm currently reading book 2. So I want to I'm going to talk about book 1 as I talk about me currently reading book 2 this week. So first and foremost, it happened. I'll never be the same again. And so I originally read ACOWAR back in 2021, and I've never reread it. And so I reread ACOWAR at the end of December, and I'm currently, I had initially planned to get to Court of Frost and Starlight by Christmas time because I felt like that little holiday novella would be fun around Christmas. And then I just didn't get to it. Whoops. I also didn't really want to rush my reread of this series because I deeply, deeply love and cherish this series. Not to be dramatic whatsoever, and I just wanted to make sure I was really, taking my time with it and getting a full, all of it that I could out of it on my reread, if that makes sense. So I did reread this book. In my opinion, it will never be as good as it was the first time around, just because rereads do hit for me, but they don't hit quite the same as they do first time around, because, you've already had the initial magic, and then just rereading, it's just replicating. It's never, completely redoing, you know what I mean? Regardless, it was really good, and I really dove in on this book. All of the theories that it just sent my teeny weeny little brain into just we're 20 some odd days out from House of Flame and Shadow, and I cannot believe A, that we're that close, and B, I just can't wait. So I had a fun time reading that. At some point this week, I want to start ACOWAR. I don't know when I want to start this, and also, I don't know, I had initially planned to jump into it, but I finished, we'll circle back, hold on. So an audiobook that I was listening to at the beginning of the year, that is backwards, I started listening to the Renegades audiobook that I got from my library, which, come to find out, I didn't check book 1, but book 2 is definitely available on Everand. So I picked up this book. This is just a happy, fun, silly little superhero action-packed YA situation. It's just fun. It's just fun. I enjoyed it a lot. So our main character, Nova, in this book originally is with the... Oh. I don't guess I ever technically read the synopsis for this book, and the way that it is portrayed makes the alliance situation more interesting. Our main character, Nova, is originally aligned with the villains, and she kind of goes on a super secret spy mission almost into the Renegades, which are basically the good superheroes in this world. So her family was essentially slaughtered by a gang unit, and the Renegades were nowhere near around to help her and her family. So she's on a path for vengeance to fight back against the Renegades who did not help her in her time of need. She has her villain, identity, but no one knows who she is behind that identity, so she's able to actually infiltrate the Renegades, and she basically becomes a renegade, and she starts making friends, and alliances are being formed, and she just has to question who she is. And also there's just so much action and just random superpowers. Everybody has a different superpower, and it's just fun. So I listened to this on audio. I love the 2 narrators, those 2 people. I like them a lot. They've done a couple books that I've also enjoyed, so I would recommend the audiobook on this one. But also, it's just a really good have it on in the background while you're going about your day, and I don't feel like the plot itself is too complicated to learn. If you're looking for a book series to mix in during House of Flame and Shadow season, if you're like me, you're desperately focused on the Sarah J. Maas worlds as a whole, and you're very much so mentally there, but I don't want to have to think about it all the time. And so something like this is just fun to mix into it because it doesn't take all of your brain power, but it's just fun. So I gave that 4 stars, and then I decided to go ahead and just go into book 2, Archenemies. This audiobook is available on Everand, so I'm kind of listening to that. I'm just under halfway through at the moment, and I'm having just a great time. I'm just having fun with it. I came into this year thinking that I wasn't going to really read any YA, just because I don't know, it just hasn't been hitting so aggressively hard as it used to hit, I guess. However, this series is just it's just fun. Like, they're superheroes running around and like trying to figure out where allegiances lie and who's good and what's bad, and just watching different random superpowers and stuff. I don't know. It's fun. So those are 2 books that I finished, and then what I'm currently listening to on audio, obviously. So I don't know if you're ever like this, but there is a particular book in my TBR. There's a couple of them, but specifically this one is the one we're referring to in this moment. I don't know if you ever pick up a book and you get very excited for it, but you don't just pick it up immediately. Like, you're in the middle of something else, you circle back to it. But by the time you circle back to it, you've started to hear so many things about it, and then you get kind of intimidated to pick it up. So then you just kind of don't, and then you just like make eye contact with it on your TBR for literally forever. And then you tell yourself you're going to start it, but you have it so built up in your head at this point that it's ridiculous. That's me and Divine Rivals. So this book is available in Kindle Unlimited, and last night literally all I wanted to do was crawl in bed and turn off all of the lights and read on my Kindle. My favorite thing to do in the whole world. I think I've been so not stressed out about it, but like I have it so built it up in my head, and I knew that once I would just start it, it would be great fun and fine. So I was DMing one of my friends on Instagram last night, and she was like, listen, maybe you should just start it. And I thought, yeah, maybe I should. So I finally picked it up. I'm like 10% of the way through it, and it's a little bit different than what I thought it was going to be, but also kind of exactly what I thought it was going to be. I'm in my Divine Rivals era. I am so glad that I finally started this book. I feel like I've been talking about starting this book for a very long time, and I've been looking at it on my TBR for a very long time. So I think I'm a little bit giddy in the fact that I did start it, but also I'm just so beyond excited to read this book. This book is so stinking talked about, and I feel like you probably already know exactly what it's about, but in case you don't, our main characters, Iris and Roman, they are rivals at a newspaper. They're fighting it out for a position at the newspaper, and they both like secretly really like each other's writing styles, but they don't want to like let each other know that they're reading each other's work and like actually liking it. So I think that's a funny little like, I think that interaction is just funny. Iris's brother has enlisted into this war between 2 gods, and she's kind of grappling with the fact that he's gone and he's not written to her yet, and that was something that he promised, and so she's very worried about him, so she's been writing him instead. They shared a wardrobe at their home, and so she's been putting letters into the wardrobe that they've shared, and they just kind of started disappearing, and then she finally gets a message back. There's a chair here, and Finley has decided to join us for this portion of the beginning of this video. We're having a very long intro, but I feel like there's been a lot of updates, and I just want to like chit chat about all the things that I've been reading lately, which this is kind of like everything that I've read so far this year, which is odd because it's literally 10 days into the year. But in case you've been curious about what I've been reading lately, here you go. And what I will be continuing to read the rest of the week, here you also go. So one day she gets a letter back saying that this isn't your brother, that these notes are going to. And that's about where I've left off. Iris has got some other things going on in her home life that I'm curious to see how that impacts her and her relationships moving forward. And I'm excited. I think I'm just giddy that I actually started this book finally. So I'm having a great time with it. And I also kind of built it up in my head that I wouldn't like it. Like, I've had enough time to process that. So now I feel like the mindset that I'm going into with this book is kind of closer to where I needed it to be. Whereas if I had read it a couple months ago when everybody was talking about it before like Ruthless Vows had come out, I feel like I'm mentally wrapping myself around this book a bit better. So I'm very excited to continue with this book and just see what the heck everything is about. Yeah, wish me luck. I will be reading this on my Kindle more than likely. This does track date. It is very loose. I typically like to have one book in each format, if that makes sense. So this is going to be my Kindle read, and then I'm listening to Archenemies by Marissa Meyer on audio. And then as far as a physical read, I'm kind of torn because I really want to pick up ACOWAR, but I also kind of want to listen to this on audio. I definitely going to pick this up at some point this week, also just to like keep on track of the schedule I have in my head, if you will, because all I want to do is get to Akasif and to Crescent City. Also, can we talk about how pretty these tabs are with this book? I am obsessed. Thanks to Callie for annotating this for me, because she's annotated all of my ACOWAR books and I can't shut up about it. So what I'm thinking for the rest of this week is that I'm going to finish or continue reading, given that I literally started it yesterday, Divine Rivals on my Kindle, and then I'm going to continue listening to Archenemies on audio. And I think once I finish that, I'm gonna hold off on that book 3 and then pick up ACOWAR on audio. And then if I decided to read either of these 2 physically, then I will, but I want to kind of keep how many books I'm starting down a little bit. So I'm currently in the middle of 2 books. I don't necessarily want to go to 3. though if this is a reread, that kind of feels better to me. So, anywho, we will see what I'm going to get up to the rest of this week. It's currently Wednesday, and I know that tonight I don't really have anything else planned besides I need to edit, and then I plan to just burrow. I'm also kind of debating if I want to finish this. Do I want to go ahead and get into Ruthless Vows, or do I want to wait maybe in February after House of Flame and Shadow comes out? I don't know. My brain is very much on House of Flame and Shadow, and I love that for me. I love being excited about new releases and like that build up before the new release. I'm having a great time. January is a great month, and I'm just living. Anyways, we'll see what we get up to the rest of this week, and I'll bring you along with me. We'll check back in later. Also, hi, just quickly jumping in, it's a little bit later today, an hour later, honestly. I just went to go start my audiobook, and I just wanted to quickly talk about / I don't know if any of you have also experienced this. I have never been a big audiobook person. They've just never been fun. It feels like I'm gonna have to like work to like turn it on. I'm also like not a big music listener either, honestly. I got a pair of the Beats Pro Maxes for Christmas. I have done nothing but listen to audiobooks in the last like, I don't know, chunk of time. I feel like these are just, they're very comfy way around, and I have a lot of earrings and like stuff in the way that like normal over the ear like headphones don't really fit on top of, but I feel like these go around my ears perfectly. The sound is great, cool, whatever, that's all great, fun and dandy, but I feel like as opposed to like my AirPods, so if you're someone who doesn't necessarily enjoy listening to audiobooks, maybe just try over the ear headphones, change your life again. Couldn't be me. I swear about like 10% of my personality is being dramatic, and then the other 90 is just talking about being dramatic. That's called insight. Anywho, if you're looking for a pair of headphones, try these maybe. But also, if you just don't like audiobooks, it low-key might be as superficial as the headphones that you're using to listen to them. And maybe that's just how delusional I am, but you know, that's me. Hi, nice to meet ya. Okay, BRB. Hi, hello, happy Sunday. It's Sunday in my world. It's Sunday regardless. I both have some and also absolutely no reading updates for you. So sometimes you read a lot, sometimes you read none. And I feel like this is especially true at the end of the week for me. Thursday nights I have rehearsal, so then I usually never read at all Thursday nights. And then Friday nights, sometimes I'll read, sometimes I won't. Like this Friday night, I started crocheting an iPad cover, which is very exciting. Yesterday, I like ran around and did all my errands. My dad actually came and helped me take all the Christmas lights, like the outdoor lights, off of my house, which I was very appreciative of because it's currently like January, 14th or something. And I was very sad to see them go, but also it's time. So next year we have things to look forward to. Reading updates that I have for you for this vlog. I was able to read a chunk of Divine Rivals last night. Looking at my Kindle, I got like somewhere in part 2. The end of part 1, if you've read Divine Rivals, much more dramatic than I expected it to be by like a lot. So that was fun. Painful but fun, but painful but fun. But painful but fun. You know, it's a fun dichotomy we have here. Okay, no, I'm like somewhere definitely just after part 2, but I'm very intrigued as to where the story is going, like where everyone's going to end up, how this is all going to work together, what is happening. Yeah, but last night I did go to the grocery store and I started the audiobook for A Court of Wings and Ruin. I've been talking about starting my reread for a long time, and I finally just did it. I needed to go to the grocery store. My roommate was like, well, why don't you just like go listen to an audiobook and like be all cute and stuff, and I was like, okay, fine. So I did start the graphic audio, especially the opening scene, which just, I was kind of freak out. So I would recommend the graphic audio specifically. At least the first part, because first of all, the graphic audio for ACOWAR, let's go ahead and grab it while we're talking about it, comes in 3 parts. So you have to buy 3 audiobooks to listen to the ACOWAR graphic audio entirely. It's a little much for me. However, I knew that I would probably switch over to physically reading this at some point. I got somewhere in chapter 9, I think. Oh, I did not get to that part of chapter 9 at the very end. It gives me life every single time that I think about it. Literally so excited. So I'm somewhere like in the middle of chapter 9, and I'm living. I really am. I'm starting to get a little, not concerned, but like I'm questioning the fact that I want to read ACOWAR, Court of Frost and Starlight, Court of Silver Flames, House of Earth and Blood, and House of Sky and Breath all before January 30th, which is in like 2 weeks basically. I totally think I can. I'm just questioning the sanity of me doing that. There is no sanity in me doing that, which kind of means I'm gonna do it anyways, but like, it's logical to at least question it. So I definitely kind of need to buckle down a little bit if I do actually want to fully reread everything that's happening, and also because ACOWAR, like, everything moving forward, really after Frost and Starlight, because I like Frost and Starlight, but obviously it's a novella, so like, whatever. The last 3 books in this authorship, we'll say, all are so incredibly amazing and perfection to me. So ACOWAR, like, I really like ACOWAR, but I don't know, it feels kind of long. Everything after ACOWAR and ACOFAS, like, I'm just so beyond thrilled to get to. So once I actually finish this and I get to those, I feel like I'm going to start reading them a lot faster, and it's going to become, I was going to say it's going to become my personality. It literally already is my personality, because I'm such an Esther girly that it's not even funny. Thoughts on this so far? Like I said, the graphic audio, my freaking goodness. When you read certain war scenes and like different things that are supposed to be painful and dramatic and just like, oh my god, sometimes you can read them like kind of detached just because you're reading along, whatever. You're not those characters, you're not those people walking through battlefields. The graphic audio with a little music playing in the background and noises in the background, it just like, I was sufficiently not only creeped out but just sad where I stand. Listening to the graphic audio might just give an extra layer of something, so it doesn't feel like you're just like doing the same old by rereading something. You're actually like getting something new out of the experience. I would definitely try that as a format. For sure. There are certain portions of this book that are coming up very quickly in my reread that I'm so freaking excited for, and I just, yeah. Like I said, it's Sunday. I'm going to make biscuits and gravy here in a little bit because that just sounds real good for breakfast. It is freezing outside and I will not be leaving my house, and I feel like I'm gonna go binge Divine Rivals and then flip over to this. And then sidebar, Archenemies, I have read absolutely nothing more. I'm kind of just saving this for like as a background audiobook because I don't feel like there's anything that's like super complex happening in here that I really need to make mental space for. I feel like I can just kind of pop on the audiobook whenever I'm just boot scooting around and I just need something to listen to, but I don't necessarily have to like fully focus on it. So I actually really appreciate books like that, and I feel like this would be a really good book to get you out of a book slump. I would recommend this series. Also, it's just like a fun, goofy, silly, happy, fun time. It's not a happy, fun time. It's kind of dramatic, but like it's a goofy, silly time, like I've said before. Anyways, I will check back in hopefully once I finish Divine Rivals, and then maybe if I have more progress in ACOWAR. Best of luck to us all. Hi, hello. It's currently January 15th and Texas just got hit. Well, the whole, United States basically. How Texas of me to be like, we just got hit with a cold front. Wow. Embarrassing for her. It's currently 17 degrees outside, and so I'm making my little soup and I'm very excited for my dinner. However, I wanted to go ahead and update you on a couple reading things because I have some reading progress. I finished Archenemies today, and I was not expecting to like this series as much as I'm currently liking it. It's just fun. Like, I'm having a great time. And I feel like the storyline in and of itself is not as complex in a good way. Like, I feel like I'm able to just put it on in the background and just like enjoy the superhero fun that's happening and have a couple plot twists here and there. And I don't have to like be overly thinking about every little thing that's happening, which I'm into. Also, I've been listening to the audiobook while at work, and I feel like it's honestly been the perfect book to read right now. I feel like it's just been going on in the background just perfectly. I'm very particular about listening to audiobooks while at work because I feel like I obviously don't want like the focus to be taken away from, my job. So having something that like the plot itself is fairly simple and something that I can just like listen to, but not like, I don't know, have to like think really hard about. I'm having a great time. I have a couple more edits to make on my end of year book tag video, which I'm very excited about. And it's just like adding in a couple things here and there because I decided to be extra and really shouldn't have been so extra and just posted it as is. But I just feel like I don't know, I was having fun with it, and then I got in too deep, and now here we are. Anyways, I am going to make a couple more edits on that, and then I am going to take a shower, get in bed, and then attempt to not freeze to death, but then I'm gonna have to blow dry my hair. I usually just air dry my hair, and the fact that it's like, freezing, and then also that I am going to go lay in bed, I probably didn't actually have dry hair to do that. Can't I just shower in the morning? This is why. Anyways, and once I do all of that and eat dinner, I'm gonna eat dinner before I do any of that because it's ready. Anywho, once I do all of that, I am going to basically crawl into bed and read Divine Rivals and not move. So I'm very excited about it. I read a little bit more last night, not a whole lot, but just like a little bit, and I was not prepared for the amount of drama that's currently unfolding. Like, I understand that no one warned me about the specific drama because they were spoilers, and for that I do appreciate them. But like also, I wasn't prepared in the best way, which means that I am invested And the fact that all of this is seeming like drama to me means that I'm very invested in what's happening, and I could not be happier. I've been very intimidated by this book for a very long time, and so I think now that I've waited long enough, I feel like I had kind of set myself up to not like it, which is good because then I go into it thinking that I won't like it, which generally means that I will end up probably liking it. I was kind of debating even picking it up in the first place right now, and I just feel like that was a good decision on my behalf. So like, go me. I don't often congratulate myself, but like when I do, I mean it. Anyways, so I read A River Enchanted about this time last year. I guess really it was December, year before last. I read A River Enchanted previously, and I can definitely see how like this is the YA version of her writing. Like A River Enchanted is definitely more like folk fantasy, flowery kind of really pretty writing, and Divine Rival so far has just been like the YA cuts to the point, a lot faster kind of writing, which I prefer, honestly. And the magic system is the same like level in each. You can definitely tell how the magic system came from an author and moved into another book. Like it's the same author writing it, in the sense that they have a very similar presence level. So I'm going to talk actual spoilers at the very end of this video, but we're going to keep the spoiler free for now. At this point, we've gotten some of the myths about the gods, but that's really it. Like, oh, and then you do obviously have the letters, which is the whole premise of the story. But like, it's not so much that I'm really having to wrap my brain around a lot of what's happening. And I feel like that kind of easier entrance has left a lot of room for me to be very connected with these characters. And I am absolutely obsessed with the dynamic of these characters. Like, they are, I wasn't prepared to even, not that I wasn't prepared to like them, but I wasn't prepared to like the dynamic between the two as much as I do. They basically just like exist to, they're obviously competitors right now. They're just kind of like competing against each other in a way that just makes each other better for what they're doing at the moment. And right where I left off, there's a big transition in the story coming. So I'm so excited to be able to just like sit down and see where the rest of this is going, and I'm just having a great time. So for everyone who told me to read Divine Rivals, you were right, obviously, but I am glad that I waited until now, because right now it's just hitting. So anyways, I will update you when I have further news on that front. So I did finish Archenemies, which I talked about, right? Yes, I did. So now that I finished Archenemies, which is book 2, I only have one more book in that series, and I immediately jumped over to Everand to see if I could get that audiobook, and of course it's not available on Everand, naturally. And I'm currently first in line at my library, so we'll see when that whole comes in. So I think I might just like not listen to an audiobook tomorrow and just like listen to music all day, which sounds kind of lame, but like, I don't know, I get in a mood where I listen to a lot of music, and then I say I get in a mood, I just feel like this all the time. I don't necessarily love listening to music because I feel like I listen to the same stuff all the time, and I know what I like, and that stuff is usually all the same, and it just gets to be a lot over the course of an 8-hour day. So we'll see when Supernova magically becomes available, because as of this point, I really just want to know what happens following the ending of Archenemies, because wow. And now that I think about it, The Blood Trader, which is the last book in the Prison Healer series, I also have that left over, and I do think that one is on Everand, so I might pick that up. I was kind of saving that until after House of Flame and Shadow, because I felt like another fantasy book I probably wouldn't want to read, but a fantasy book like in a series that I'm already used to the world, and that's just like a YA, so it's like easier to understand. Anyways, I didn't show you my little bookmark. Hold on. This outfit is like peak work from home. It's freaking cold, so I'm just gonna literally wear the biggest items I can find. Anyways, I totally could have been holding the Archenemies book the whole time I was talking about it, but like, whoops. So my roommate the other day told me that she had a surprise from one of her friends at work, and it's a little bookmark. So it's been living in Divine Rivals at the moment, and I need to update my place. It's just this like little silicone like leaf ones that I've seen online a million times over, and I've always thought they were so cute, but I just never ordered them. It's giving me an unreasonable amount of joy. Also the fact that she just like, she got a big pack of them and she just gave them to a bunch of people, and then she gave me one. I was like, girl, it's so nice. The other recent bookish, not purchased because it was a gift, and I literally still cannot believe that this occurred, but I got this little books like choker necklace from my bestie. She went to a bookstore in Georgia. They had this necklace, and it literally just says books. I'm obsessed. Anyways, I I'm really just living my little reader life right now, and I love that for me. Like a lot. Like a lot. Okay, that's all. We will chat later. I was attempting to get ready for the day, and I figured I should go ahead and update you. I finished Divine Rivals last night. I was not that I wasn't planning to finish it, but I wasn't really planning to finish it when I did. Meaning that last night after I clocked off work early and I like had dinner early and I was fully ready to just get in bed and read all night, and then I proceeded to not literally at all until like, it was probably like 10 o'clock, honestly. I'll be weirdo. They're digging some internet lines for a new like Wi-Fi provider in our neighborhood right now, and I think they finally got into our alley, and I'm curious to see A, how long it's going to take, and B, how loud it's going to be, because Oliver already is not having a great time. Anyways, the whole circling back to the point of the story, once I actually sat down and started reading last night, it was probably 10, but then I got distracted with something else, and then I literally did not actually start reading until 12:30, and then I like stopped reading again at 1:30. By 1:30 I could not go to sleep, so then I was like, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to read. That just seems like the only option. I proceeded to stay up until 3:30 and finished it, which I wasn't really planning on doing. I'm thinking it's gonna be somewhere in the 4-star. Like it wasn't a 5-star for me, and I think that was because I don't. You know how you like have a time limit whenever you put on mascara as to like how fast it dries, and then if you sit here and you talk, it tends to dry faster, especially when you're just like waving around this wand. Speaking of waving around a wand, my Flourish and Blots like bookseller t-shirt that my mom got me for Christmas. One of my goals, I think, for next year, I said all year in 2023 that I was going to reread the Harry Potter series, and then I just ran out of time, honestly. But it is all on Kindle Unlimited. So I've been in my Kindle era. It's on Kindle. So it's definitely like not as high priority as some of the other like fan rows that I want to get to. However, I feel like it could be a goal for 2024. I should have lost all hope of this eyeball. Okay, so Divine Rivals. I have some specific thoughts that I will give you in the spoiler section. However, as far as my review, the non-spoiler version, if you will, sometimes I say things and I'm like, really, like, that's what your brain was going to? Anyways, I liked it a lot. I didn't like, I don't know, it wasn't absolute pure perfection to me, and it's not that I can like pick out any single thing as like an actual critique. It just wasn't my absolute version of perfection. But then I feel like I'm being too harsh. I just didn't get the 5-star feeling, and that's what I need to leave it at. However, maybe like a 4.5, like 4.5, 4.75. It was a time. And I think it's not a 5-star just because it's so different than my usual. At the same time, I hesitate to say that. I feel like I need to sit on it a little bit more before I put like an official not 5-star rating on it, you know what I mean? But like, to me, that kind of means that it's not a 5-star. Anyways, I liked the way that the story went. How it ended, I was just kind of like, okay, like, whatever. And see, here's the thing. I feel like it's because Ruthless Vows is already out. I felt the exact same way about Ballad of Never After, because Curse for True Love was already out. That cliffhanger was kind of dramatic, but I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, next book. And I didn't fully sink into that horror that should have been that ending for me. So I think what I'm learning about myself, which is interesting in my head because this is like a new development, that I really need to be better about reading series as they come out and like actually sitting on that cliffhanger, because they tend to sit more dramatically. Like they tend to hit different, you know? I'm drying out my mascara again. Anyways, I was highlighting like a crazy person towards the end. I wasn't thinking that I was really going to highlight much. I did get a little Kindle stand for my bed, which is the most extra thing I've ever. And I am very excited for the person who I am about to become. So I really didn't think that I would actually take the time to like sit up and highlight things, and I totally did. Rebecca Ross's prose is just, it's everything to me. And whenever she was marketing, right before A Fire Endless came out, she said in a couple different places, like on her Instagram and whatever, that the way that she writes spice, she doesn't write spice. She writes romantic steam, poetic steam. Poetic steam? I think it's poetic steam. I'll put the exact phrasing that she used. But I love the way that she does that. I think that it's just beautiful. And I do like spice in the sense that I like to have the full story, you know, but I don't need the mechanics necessarily for a story to be good, you know? And I think most of us are like that, but I think that she does that writing in a way that, like, it's not spicy. She takes something that could be so, it's not vulgar, but like so spicy. And I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say, obviously, but she takes something that could be spicy and turns it into just poetic steam. I don't know, it's beautiful, it's poetic, it's prose, and I really love that. I can solidly say I like this a whole lot better than I like A River Enchanted, but that's just because I don't love like the folk fantasy kind of thing. I am obsessed with writing that just like gets to the point, and I feel like she accomplished that in this YA situation. Like that's the style of writing that she did in this book. I don't know, I just liked it. I liked it a lot. I know, I feel like I finally know what all the girlies are talking about, and I love that for me. Sometimes I get really self-conscious about like what I read and the fact that literally everything that I read is popular, but then I'm like, it's popular for a reason, you know? So we'll see if I ever get better about reading things that are a bit less like hyped. But I feel like because I watch so much booktube and because I'm on Bookstagram quite often, I see hype for literally everything. So then of course everything is going to be a hyped read because like my ratio of what I've seen is pretty high, you know? Like the ratio of content that I consume is pretty high. So like, of course I'm going to see hype for literally every single thing that's out there. So any reasons, I finished it. I liked it a lot. And that's that. We'll talk more at the end of this video. As far as what else I'm reading, we'll backtrack. I don't know if I ever touched on at the beginning of this video, but I did pick up the graphic audio for ACOWAR Part 1. I understand how much production goes into each of these audiobooks and how they have to be more expensive because they're so much more time inclusive to make. But like 3 audiobooks for a single book, 3 parts, like, I don't know. I don't just particularly love that, but like, whatever. So I picked up Part 1. I do love it. I like it a lot. I like the graphic audio more for ACOWAR more than I liked. I never listened to the graphic ACOWAR, but the graphic ACOWAR book 1. If you're going to spend money on one of the books being audio, maybe ACOWAR. And I feel like that is because that's when it's obviously the last book in the initial trilogy, and so everything like concludes. So I feel like that impact around the conclusion is just like, it's a great time. It's a great experience, and big fan. I think I'm like somewhere around like 180, 200 pages in, something like that. But I've been this whole time like not wanting to rush this and like not really putting my focus on that because that's like not the book that I'm reading for the first time right now. But like, girl, it's what, January 18th now? January 30th is quickly rolling around, and I've got some chunky books ahead of me to read. So, so this weekend I'm going to focus on getting ACOWAR and Frost and Starlight done, so that way I can get into, I'm anticipating getting to House of Earth and Blood so hard, and then I can get into Silver Flames. I'm going to do Earth and Blood and then Silver Flames and then come back to Sky and Breath, and then it'll be time for Flaming Shadow. The other reason it's taking me a little bit longer to get through ACOWAR is because my Supernova audiobook came in. I'm like a couple chapters in that right now, and it's just, so I just edited the beginning of this vlog last night. Literally, I said, it's just fun, like 87 times. And I catch myself doing it yet again. And that's just what the series is. So instead of boring you by talking about how just fun it is, and also because I can't give you any like specific details about what's happening in the books, we're just gonna like close off this vlog here. This vlog's a little chaotic. This is the first one we're doing, I would say on this channel, but literally ever. If you're gonna watch the spoilers here in a little bit, this is not a goodbye. However, if you have not read Divine Rivals, stop watching this video now. Goodbye to you. I hope you have a great rest of your day. If you haven't already, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to my channel for future videos. Leave some sort of a heart emoji because it's not really almost Valentine's Day, but like we're less than a month away, and I just am in the mood. I just want everything to be pink right now, and I'm okay with that. So last warning, we're talking Divine Rival spoilers in 3, 2, 1. We are going to kick off the spoiler section of this vlog. If you have not read Divine Rivals, keep it moving. I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching up until this point. And maybe you should go read Divine Rivals, which is probably not the best thing to say given that I've only read 20% of it. So this book kicks off with Iris. She's kind of just living her life. I guess it really kicks off with her brother He has just enlisted in the war between, was it Dacre and Enva? He got lured off to war and she's not doing well, given that he has not contacted her whatsoever. Her mother is also battling alcoholism following the departure of her brother and the lack of news of whether he's safe or not. So they're just kind of like waiting for the news if he's okay or not, and just like hoping he'll find the time and ability to write them and let him know that he's safe. So you're just kind of like getting to know Iris and figuring out like what her life is at the current moment. And listen, I was not prepared for the amount of drama to unfold that just unfolded. Literally nowhere does anyone say that A, her mom dies, and B, that Roman gets in an arranged marriage. Like, I feel like I've not been lied to, but I understand that those are both spoilers and I am glad that I have heard them. However, what? So drama is currently unfolding and I don't know how to handle that amount of things occurring, but that just means I'm invested and I support that fully for myself. So I'm at the point where Iris's mom has literally just passed and Roman found out about it. She doesn't show up to work. He shows up at her apartment and it's like, "You okay, bruh?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm great. Please leave." I'm living for their dynamic. We get the setup of them and their work lives, if you will, and how they both don't want each other to know that they're like interested in each other in terms of like their writing. Like they don't want each other to know that either of them have read either's work. Even though Iris has been writing all these letters to her brother and Roman has been reading them and she doesn't know. So he knows all of this about her writing and she tries to she takes a peek of his writing every now and then, and I think that's interesting. Also because when you write, it's something that's so like personal and it comes from, at least for her writing style, like it's very personal to her, and that feels like you're kind of divulging parts of yourself. And for Roman to have read them, I'm very curious to see how that reveal is gonna go. And I think I just caught off at the point where Roman starts to stand up to his dad and tells him that he's not going to marry this random homegirl. And I'm very intrigued to see if he actually is able to like stand his ground in that regard, or if all hell is going to break loose, because I feel like that's the latter option. I've highlighted a couple of scenes on my Kindle. She waited for him to notice the disorder at his desk to frown and cast a glare at her because she was the only one who took the time to annoy him in such a way. I'm obsessed with their dynamic. Like the fact that she literally goes out of her way to bug him and she's the only one that bugs him. The other girl that works in the office with him, she was talking to Iris. She's like, "What do you mean that he doesn't notice you? I always thought you would make a cute couple." Of course, he would have one of those sorts of laughs, the one you couldn't hear and not feel in your own chest. Oh, and whenever he goes to her house and he's like making sure that she's okay after she just didn't show up to work the next day, he "Will you lock the door behind me?" And he waited until she locked the door behind him. And I love the fact that it's literally written in that their work dynamic, like they're both competitors, but they compete in a way that drives the other to do better. And obviously, at least on Iris's end, we don't really know for sure what Roman's into that, but on Iris's end, it's definitely the whole, I have to succeed at this job and I have to do well, so I have to do everything to do well, and there's a lot of anxiety and pressure around that. And I'm assuming it's, similar, at least for the other side of that. But the fact that they're set up in a way to like both make them compete and like do better ultimately. And so once she leaves the newspaper, also the fact that she just like up and quits her job and is like moving off into the future to like figure out what the heck to do with the rest of her life, because not only is her mom dead, her brother's gone. Go Iris. And the fact that she just like gets up and leaves right after Roman got the position, which I love that for her. That she, not only that she was able to just get up and leave, but the fact that she did. And she didn't take a lack of promotion and just like sat there with it. I love that. There's a line in here that says she wondered if he would grow soft now without her here to sharpen him. I love that dynamic. Friends, Romans, countrymen, country women, country people. I finished it. I touched on it briefly when I was doing the non-spoiler section, but I was not anticipating annotating literally anything out of this book. Your girl was highlighting like a crazy person, because literally every single line that comes from Rebecca Ross's pen, it's stunning. It's amazing. Anyways, let's talk some specifics. So first thing that just like absolutely made me laugh was that yesterday I was watching Tori Between Pages. I was watching her bullet journal video where she did the page where she was tracking different tropes, and she was talking about the one horse trope. we got a one seat in the truck trope. And I was not anticipating that at all. And I was dying. I was just like clapping along, and the fact that he a little bit like whenever they get to their destination and he like goes to sleep immediately, she's like, man, maybe me sitting on him for 3 hours really took it out of him. Girl. So we've got Roman C. Kid. All of the little nicknames that Iris tried to place in the middle of his name to like make up what his middle name would be. Roman Cantankerous Kid. I was rolling. I wasn't anticipating it to be so funny either. And I was just like, man, this is just, for this to be so funny in my head is just because it's hidden right now. It's hidden. I think the way that we're going to approach this little spoiler section is we're just going to scroll through some of my highlights and fangirl over them together, basically. First of all, what I was kind of touching on the non-spoiler section again, the fact that this is YA, but they're definitely like getting married and consummating said marriage. The fact that she was able to do that like within a YA setting, love. Great. I love how she writes spice. I wasn't anticipating getting like a marriage scene out of this book. Not that being YA isn't like married. Like we can have good portrayals of every stage of a relationship, including up to marriage. 17-year-olds can in fact get married. However, I don't necessarily anticipate that obviously out of a YA book, but I loved everything about it. I was talking about the historical fiction portion of this book. Like, I was talking about how this book felt more like historical fiction than a fantasy earlier, which I fully, now having finished it, I stand by that. I don't think it's fantasy. In a sense that, like, I think that book 2 is going to be more fantasy because based on the ending of a certain somebody getting taken away, in a certain manner in which they're getting healed and like the whole forest coming back and like having all these wounds and stuff that he was definitely healed from magically. That is going to be more fantasy, but the initial book is historical fiction, like with splashes of fantasy. Anyways, the fact that Roman literally left his engagement, said screw you dad, and left his job and just like ran off to a war for Iris. I'm sorry, I have new standards. So I really like the structure of this book with Roman knowing who Iris was, but Iris not knowing who Carver was, because you get all of this really cool angst and tension with him being obsessed with her because he's in love with her, and her looking at him and being like, he's a mystery I want to solve. But not actually knowing that she's a lot closer to solving the mystery than she thinks she is. I love that weird back and forth. Like, she doesn't know, but I want her to know. And then I kind of like this guy, but I'm really confused as to why I even like him. I just like annoying him, and that's kind of weird. I was laughing so hard at the fact that whenever they're in the trenches, which we'll get to in a second, but they're literally in the trenches and she's reading the note in which he tells her who he is, and instead of letting her find out who he is and, you know, a trench, he throws a wadded up piece of paper in her face. Again, was not really prepared to laugh as hard as I did at him hitting her in the face with a piece of paper because he didn't want her to find out that he loved her. Shut up, kid. Absolutely, whatever you want. Okay, going back to the whole, he loves her, she has no idea who he is. The fact that he was like, hey, you wanna like go on a run with me, rival of mine. He wasn't like trying to date her or anything, but like him trying to like set up some romance between the two of them had me rolling. And the fact that later on they called it their hill, it was our hill, and then the hill gets bombed, that hurt. That is hurted. This whole time I've been scrolling through my highlights trying to get to the most recent ones, and I'm still going. Oh, her best friend with Addie. Cute. A message that I really fully strong-heartedly support in, especially YA, but like any romance honestly, but like mostly YA, and when it's so blatantly said, is when the main character doesn't just like sit around and wait for a man to make her complete. She literally writes to him and says, I can't expect someone else to make me feel complete. I must find it on my own. You go, girl. That's all. I really like the plot line of the typewriters being the magic rather than this magical wardrobe situation. I felt like that was fun, and also they have that cool like family history line. His grandmother was a friend to her grandmother, regardless of like those class differences, as you will, and that was one of Iris's really big concerns, was that Roman wasn't going to want to be friends with her in the first place, and like he was not going to be friends with her, and she shouldn't be friends with him because he would look down on her because she wasn't upper class like he was. I love that like they have that generational relationship that circumvents that idea for her. I think that's cool. So she leaves Oath for the front to become a war correspondent, as we know by this point. The particular line that I'm looking at is that, so she's thinking about Roman, basically, and she goes, as soon as she thought of them, her chest ached. The feeling surprised her because it was sharp and undeniable. I miss him. She missed irritating him by rearranging his desk. She missed stealing glances at his horribly handsome face, the rare side of his smile, and the fleeting sound of his laughter, yada yada yada. So she hates him, right? But she misses him. She misses hating him. Fine line between hate and love, my friend. Addie being introduced, you can tell from the get-go that they were supposed to be besties. Addie says to Iris that I don't want to wake up when I'm 74 only to realize I haven't lived. I thought it was kind of cool that Roman's Nan was 75 and telling him to, like, go live. I'm very curious as to Nan's story. Like, did she not live? Are we gonna get some information on that? The sirens come and she, like, tackles him to safety. And they have to, like, hug it out while the little dragon things are, like, circling above them. I do love forced proximity, just saying. Okay, the title. Let's talk about the title for, like, 2 seconds. The whole divine rivals thing. I love how many times it's touched on. That idea of them being tied together by something beyond... Hold on. He said, I think there's a magical link between you and me, a bond that not even distance can break. And then, like, the whole, at the very end, like, the synonym for divine, sublime, transcendent, or whatever. That's an idea that's repeated often, and I'm a sucker for when titles in the book actually come up and, like, that whole storyline, that full circle moment happens. It happens a couple times in here. Sufficiently. I'm about it. I hope you find your place wherever you are, even in the silence. I hope you'll find the words you need to share. I also was really laughing at the part where it says, he knew something unexpected and terrible must have happened for her to misspell 3 different words. I love that he knows her so well to be like, she's so perfect, like even her spelling is so perfect. If she's not spelling correctly, something must be wrong. I mean, obviously, like, getting the letter that he got would have indicated that, but I think that's so funny between the two of them. The fact that he was late to work thinking about her. He was thinking about her far too much and he knew this was going to doom him. Like, okay, diva. So when I talk about the angst between the two of them, him knowing who she is and her being gone, and him saying her heart belonged elsewhere and he'd never know what it would feel like to be loved by her. See, the more that I talk about different quotes and stuff in this book, I'm like, girl, that was like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can see how this book is so universally liked because it's truly just like well done. When he goes, profanity is quite becoming on you, I would die. If someone said that to me in real life, I think I would just like perish on the spot. They can have me at that point. At many other points along this book, Roman could have had me. That would have been like the final straw, even before the whole one truck trope, one lorry trope, if you will. Oh, Roman chafing kid. That one also had me rolling. And I think I was also laughing harder because I wasn't anticipating it to be like actually so funny. Also, I might have been a little delirious at the fact that it was like 2 a.m. The 3-hour lorry ride with her sitting on his lap must have truly worn him down. You sure about that, girl? When he said, you should take advantage of me, I said, yeah, okay, thanks. Okay, whenever they're in the trenches, there's the hand grenade. He just like throws her and like tries to shield her and is going through all of the mental steps of her potentially just like not being there anymore. How much he just like decided to take control of that situation, be like, get your bag, calm the frick down, we're getting out of here. And then if anything hurt her, it would have to come through him first. He didn't want to live in a world without her and her words. So whenever he gets wounded at this point, they're still technically rivals, but she looks at him and she's like, I see our future together. Without even knowing him being Carver and knowing all the backstory of his and how that connection happened between the two of them, her just thinking, I'm gonna miss annoying him so much and I can really just see us together making each other better as we do in our existing relationship for the rest of our lives. That had me just like so convinced. Up until that point, I was obviously convinced that Roman loved her and like was obsessed with her, yada yada yada, but I wasn't necessarily convinced about Iris liking him. Like I knew that she was flustered by him and enjoyed being his rival, but then her seeing him in her life, that was the scene. Oh, and I just thought that this part of the way that Rebecca wrote this, as if I know bestie Rebecca, the way that Rebecca Ross wrote this, sorry, we're on first date terms. We're not going back from that. When she was talking about them being together and spending the rest of their lives together and how that kind of blending of lives slowly occurs. She said the living as one and sharing a bed and the gradual sense of melting into each other. That's just beautiful. Like you can't tell me that that is not somehow like just poetic. Like it's flowery, but it's not excessively flowery, and I really like the writing style of Divine Rivals for that specific reason. You get some really pretty, the gradual sense of melting into each other without it being like yada 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 to tell you that this happened. Like you get this happened, but then you get some other sidebar beauty. He wrote in his letter, in his little love confession, that my heart is beating wildly in my chest and I would beg you to come and tame it. If someone in real life had wrote that letter to me, I feel like I wouldn't roll my eyes at that, but like in this scenario, like, I just, take me away to Roman, please. And then when she had all these feelings for Roman, I knew that she also had these feelings for Carver, even though she hadn't met him. The fact that once she like started to put two and two things together, and then she found out, the first thing that she felt was relief. I really loved that that was how that was written, also because I wasn't really concerned with the, you know how like in romance novels you get the crappy third act breakup where there's like the weird miscommunication trope. That had me feeling like the whole case of wrong identity thing, it wasn't going to end up in this like crappy miscommunication scenario. It was going to end in them reconciling themselves to each other, and just like everything was going to be defined, and like the romance was going to win in the end kind of thing, you know? And I also do love that the reconciliation of the two paper versus physical people that actually happened. They both read very specific parts of their letters to each other, and I feel like that's really cool because like whenever you write stuff down and like, or like if you text somebody, it's so much easier to say something, but when it comes to actually being that way like to another person physically, it's harder to kind of get past that like vulnerability barrier, at least for me. And personally, I would need that to even feel remotely like this is real. And I love that because they're both always so wrapped up in their words on paper that they did have that verbal moment between each other. I feel like the relationship between the two of them wouldn't have worked without that. I love that they got a little working together scene. They'd always been rivals. They'd always been challenging each other. They had not really been a team. They were on their own teams on opposing sides, but now they're coming together to be an actual team together. I know good and well that the whole like asking the father's permission to marry you thing, I know people don't like that. The fact that he wanted to honor her and the relationships that he had made by like, hey, like I know that we're, you know, kind of in the middle of something here, like war or whatever. Y'all want to like, do you approve this marriage, and do you like want to have a surprise wedding? That was my first thought whenever Dacre, whatever his name is, when he took the town next to them, it was coming into their town. The fact that all of those like war preparations were occurring, I was like, they're just not going to get married. And I'm going to be so upset. And then like she gets swept away into all of these preparations, and then he surprises her. Not me tearing up. I'm like faking myself out into tears low-key, but I think you're just showing time and time again how much Roman is not only obsessed with her and how much he thinks about her all the time and how much he just like is proud of her and like respects her writing, but he also just truly loves her and like knows that she wants to do everything she can to help prepare for this war and like be a doer, but he's going to make sure that at the end of the day that she knows that she is valued and loved and appreciated, and that he's not going to leave her, which has been, you know, all of her family's left her, but he won't. And he's going to actually like, they're going to sit here and talk about getting married. They're actually going to get married and love. If you like this style of video, let me know, because I feel like it was fun to talk about the spoilers and what was actually happening. Also, thanks again. I feel like I'm just copying Tori between pages. She just posted her I'm talking about a book journal, which I'm probably going to just copy and paste from mine, honestly, because I love the way that she does everything. Also, she posted her Iron Flame reading vlog where she had spoilers at the end, so that's kind of like where I got the idea to do this video, but like also I just kind of really needed to talk about it, and I know that a lot of people have already read it and they also want to talk about it. So if you have any other thoughts that you like want to message me, let's keep the comment section here spoiler free, but then feel free to DM me on Instagram. Go ahead and follow me over there. I'm at Faze Reads on Instagram, and I love DMs. Let me know if you have any thoughts that you also, do you agree with any of the panic that I had, or like any of those lines just hit you the same way that I did? Because, so I just finished that end of your book tag, and one of the questions is quotes from the year, and I didn't really have any saved from next year, but you bet next year when we do that tag, I'm just gonna like hand you the copy of this book as my quotes. So, anywho, happy Thursday. I hope you have a great rest of your day or night wherever you are. Thanks for joining me on this first little vlog here that we're doing on my channel, and I will see you in the next one.